so let's do some problems where we use the formula of how to sum up the terms of an arithmetic sequence. Okay, so let's review what that formula is. Okay, so the sum of the first n things in an arithmetic sequence, which would be called a series, would be, I'm going to do the first term plus the nth term. I want to average those, the first and last term averaged, and then it's times the number of terms. So it's a really easy formula. Okay, so let's take an example. Let's say that during the quarantine, I make a goal of trying to write in a journal, okay? And let's say the very first day, I write 14 minutes, and then I have a goal of increasing my writing time by 5 minutes every day during the quarantine. Okay, so let's go ahead and write what that sequence would look like. Okay, so that's going to be, you have to use your previous information. It's going to be 14 plus 5 times n minus 1. And that's using how to build an arithmetic sequence, the lesson we had last week, how to build that up. Okay, so let's say that what I want to find out is over 10 days of the quarantine, how much total writing time have I had over those first 10 days where I've made this goal? And let's say I've done it. Okay. All right. So first thing I want to do is before I can use this formula is I actually have to calculate a sub 10. So that's going to be 14 plus 5. Of course, I'm going to plug in 10 minus 1. So that's going to be 14 plus 5 times 9. So it's going to be 45 plus 14. Okay, so if I add those up, it's going to be 59. So the 10th day of quarantine, I'm almost writing an hour. Okay, so the total of those, now obviously I could just build it up and, you know, add them by hand and so forth, and that's an interesting exercise to check. I welcome you to do that if you would like to. At some point, obviously, it gets tedious to do too many of those, but for this one, it'd be small enough to check still. Okay, so what I can do is go ahead and plug those in. Okay, so I want to find the sum of it after 10 days. So it's going to be S sub 10, okay? Now the first A1 means the first day, so that was 14 minutes. And then the 10th day, the last thing I'm putting in the sum was 59. I want to average those. And then I'm just timesing it by the number of terms that I want to add up, which is, in this case, just the terms over those 10 days, so it would be times 10. Okay, so if I go ahead and calculate that out, let's see what that is. Okay, so I have my calculator here. So I'm going to have 14 plus 59, take that result, divide it by 2, and then times it by 10. So it's kind of an interesting answer. I get 365 total minutes of writing time. Great. Okay, let's do one more question. Okay, so let's sum up. Let's see if we can do this one. Let's say I'm interested in summing up the multiples of 8. But I want to start with 64 as my first multiple 8 that I throw in the sum. And let's say that I'm interested in summing up actually the first 100 multiples of 8. Okay, so that's big, right? Okay, so let's do it. Okay, so for this one, again, I don't know what A100 is, right? So I'm going to have to figure out a formula for it and then generate that 100th term. So that's why it was important to get last week's assignment understood pretty well. Okay, anyway, so A sub n would be, I take the first term, right? Well, let me just write it out. N minus 1 times d. Okay, so I'm going to take my A1, which is 64, and then n minus 1 in this case, because I want to find A100, right? That's going to be 100 minus 1. And then my d value in this case, hopefully you see that the difference in this kind of sequence is 8. I'm adding 8 to get for the next multiple of 8 to multiple of 8, etc. Okay, so if I do that, okay, and I multiply it all out and everything like that, you should get 856 when you evaluate that. Okay, so using the formula once you have that is pretty easy, right? So if I'm interested in S100, right, it's just going to be the average of the first and the last term divided by 2 times the number of terms. Okay, so it's just going to be 64, right, and then plus 856 over 2 times 100. So again, when I worked this out, I went ahead and I got 46,000. Okay, so of course it's a huge number because you're adding up 100 multiples of 8, you know, from there. Okay, great.